Okay, today I'm going to be talking about what stopping and fronting are. But before I go over what either of these are, I'm going to review a couple things just so everything makes a lot more sense. We haven't necessarily gone over some of these things in class, but I do have some prior knowledge on them. So I think reviewing them will really help understand the concept of stopping and fronting better. So first, I'm going to review what fricatives are. A fricative sound, which is also known as a hissing sound, is made when air is escaping through a small passage in the mouth. For example, the gaps between your teeth can make a fricative sound, or the gap between your lower lip and your top teeth when you say the sound F. So you can practice doing that. Like, for example, for the F sound, you can see how there's a little bit of air escaping between your bottom lip and your top teeth. And then I chose this image because it does a good job of like pointing to where those small little passages are. But I'll go over these sounds more in depth on the next slide. Here's just 4 examples of fricative sounds. There are 9 total, but I'm just going to go over a few of them. So first is F as in fish, phonetics, or cough. V as in velum, savings. This is called the theta, and this is the TH sound. So as in thing, thanks, or bath. And then S as in size, massive, and city. You can see, especially in the S sound, there's air coming through the gaps in your teeth. Okay, so now I'm going to review what affricates are. An affricate sound is a sound that begins as a stop and concludes with a fricative. I'm going to go over some examples in the next slide. There's only 2. So the first is the CH sound, as in church or choose, which is represented by these letters right here. And then the J sound, as in jet and hedge, which is represented by these letters right here. Now, what is a stop? A stop sound is created by fully stopping the airflow. So this one's pretty easy to remember just because a stop sound is when you stop the airflow. That's how I remember it. Some stop sound examples are P as in spell or top. You can see how when you say the sound, you're stopping the airflow. B as in ball or rib. T as in stop, pot. D as in dim, darn, and bad. K as in skill and action. G as in goat, tag, and green. And then this is called the glottal stop. And this is as in kitten, button. You don't say kitten or button. You say kitten, button. That's the glottal stop sound. Okay, so now we can finally go over what stopping is since we reviewed what fricatives and affricates are. So stopping is when someone substitutes a stop for a fricative or an affricate. We can see these in the next slides. They would say ton for sun or dat for that. So you can see how they're taking that the fricative sound and they're replacing it with a stop sound, ton, instead of sun, or instead of the th sound, that, they're using a stop sound, d, dat. And then this phonological process, stopping, is seen a lot in younger children and is typically eliminated between the ages of 3 and 5. So it's normal for kids to say these types of things, and it's actually quite cute when they say these types of things, but it should go away after the ages of between like 3 and 5. And if it doesn't, that's when you go see like a speech language pathologist and work on those types of things. And then this is from our textbook on page 248. I liked this because it shows how you take those fricative sounds and replace them with a stop. So like sake, which S is a fricative sound, you replace it with a T. Take, a stop sound. Zoo, you replace that with do, a fricative for a stop. Fat and pat, and ship and tip. Okay, before I move on to fronting, I'm going to review a couple other things just so things make a lot more sense. First, I'm going to talk about velar consonants. A velar consonant is a consonant that is pronounced with the back part of the tongue against the soft palate. This is also known as the velum, which is the back part of the roof of your mouth. Chose this picture because the red arrow is pointing to where the velum is. You can see how it's in the back of the top of your mouth. So the velar consonants are the K sound, G sound, T sound. I already went over a couple of these. That's why I'm kind of just skipping over them. And then the NG sound, which is represented by this letter right here, as in thing or king. When you say those, thing, you can see how your tongue is pressing up on the back part of your mouth. Ng, ng. So those are what velar consonants are. Now I'm going to talk about palatal consonants. Palatal consonants are consonants that are articulated with the body of the tongue raised against the hard palate, which is the middle part of the roof of your mouth. And then I chose this picture because it points out exactly where the hard palate is. There's only one, and that is the y sound. It looks like a J, but it's actually the y sound. So like U in university, you can see how the tongue is pressing up against the top middle of your mouth when you say that. Y. Okay, so now I can finally get over what fronting is. Fronting is when children substitute those velar and palatal sounds with an alveolar place of articulation. You create the alveolar consonant when you raise your tongue to the alveolar ridge to block or constrict airflow. So the alveolar ridge is the little bump that is at the back of your top teeth where your teeth connect to the top of your mouth. So if you take your tongue and you like slide it down from the roof of your mouth to your top teeth and you feel a little bump, that's where it is. That's the best way I can describe it, really. So for example, a child may say tookie instead of cookie, or date instead of gate, or tan for can. So they're doing t, t, t instead of the k, k sound, or the d sound instead of the g sound. And then this is a chart I got from the textbook. I liked this because it shows how the velar and palatal sounds are turned into those alveolar sounds. So the K is turned into a T, the K for T, and the G for D, and the Ng for the N, and then so on. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over what phonological disorders are. Stopping and fronting are phonological disorders, and a phonological disorder is a speech disorder that is related to the linguistic aspect of speech production. Thought that was something important to go over just because that's what stopping and fronting are. Okay, so now I have a couple quiz questions. First, which one of the following are fricative sound? Is it the T, the S, or the CH sound? Either T, S, or Ch. So the right answer is B, S. That's the hissing sound, the S. Okay, now my next question is, what might a child who uses stopping say instead of shop? So they're going to take that sh sound and turn it into a stop sound. So they might say dop or top or bop instead of shop. Now, my last question is, what might a child who uses fronting say instead of car? So in this case, a child would probably say tar instead of car. So they're using t, t, t instead of the k sound. And that's all I have. I hope I explained stopping and fronting well, but thank you for listening.